Hi, this is Subbu. Welcome to Azure SQL Champ YouTube channel. This is our ninth session as part of SQL Server DBA L1 series. During this session, we are going to talk about DBCC commands. So, what is DBCC commands and how it will help in our day-to-day work? That's what our main thing we are going to focus as part of today. So, if you want to watch my previous 8 sessions, so where you can go to the YouTube channel and search for Azure SQL Champ, and you can find a playlist. Under playlist you can find SQL Server L1 DBA task series where you can see the my past previous 8 session. So as part of today's session, we are going to discuss majorly on what is DBCC, what are the commands are available, and how that will help you in real world to get some historical information, current information, and if you want to do certain activities, you will get with help of DBCC command. So DBCC commands basically will get the current state of your, either it can be instance or it can be database. It will get the current state of the information. And basically Microsoft divided into three four categories. One is maintenance related DBCC commands, miscellaneous DBCC related commands, informational DBCC commands, and validation DBCC commands. So each category we are having different set of commands are available. So for example, if you go to the informational, so where you can get the information with help of DBCC user options, DBCC trace stats, DBCC SQL perf, DBCC show config, DBCC show statistics, DBCC pro cache, DBCC output buffer. All these are belong to the informational DBCC commands. So when you go for validation, we are having DBCC checkdb and DBCC check log, check catalog, check table. These are all belong to the validation DBCC commands. Like same when you go to the maintenance, where you can perform index rebuild, cleanup, drop cleanup buffer, DBCC pro crash, index defragmentation, string database, string file, update usage. All this will comes into the maintenance related DBCC commands. Like same when you go for miscellaneous, where you can see the session cache information along with DBCC trace on, trace off, trace statuses, DLL name. These commands will comes into the miscellaneous. So we are having n number of DBCC. So we are having n number of DBCS commands being provided by the Microsoft. So if you want to get the information how many DBCC commands are available, okay, so you can just type DBCS help question mark, where you can get the information what are the DBCC commands are available at SQL level. So almost we are having 22 25 plus DBCC commands are available. Even you can go to the Azure SQL database and you can run DBCC help. Here also you will get almost 20 plus DBCC commands are available. But this DBCS commands help is not supported, but you can use whatever the commands are being supported by Azure SQL database. We'll see one by one. So basically, so couple of DBCS commands are most important where we are going to use on regular basis in respect to work, whenever whatever work you are doing. For example, if you are working in log file, if you are wanted to enable the traces, if you are working with active transactions, if you are working with removing the caches, seeing the caches. So what is our main task we are working based on the task? If it really helps us when you run the DBCC commands, we will go and run the DBCC command. So as part of today, we are going to discuss more frequently DBCC commands which we will use on our day-to-day work. Okay, out of this we are not covering today DBCC checkdb. We will cover in the corruption session. Okay, in the live session, corruption session. Again, we will talk all these sessions when we are discussing deep diving on the each troubleshooting, log file troubleshooting, tempdb troubleshooting, data files troubleshooting, memory troubleshooting, CPU troubleshooting. Again, I will come back with each and every DBCC commands which will help you lot in our day-to-day troubleshooting. Today we are just briefing about what are the top DBCC commands which we will use on our day-to-day work. Out of these, the top DBCC commands we will use is DBCC SQL puff logspace. DBCC SQL puff logspace. This is the one of the topmost DBCC commands where we will use to see our log file utilization. To see our current log file utilization means whenever your log file is getting full, first we will run DBCC SQL puff log space to see what is my current log file utilization. Just try to copy this one and go and run uh, DBCC puff. You see the what is your log file size, what is your utilization, how much is current utilization. If you see more than 80%, we need to troubleshoot. We need to troubleshoot. You need to verify why my log file is getting full and why my log file is not reusing. So we need to get that stuff and we need to trouble. So basically whenever you see that log file is getting full, the first command you will trigger is dbcc sql puff log space to see what is my current log file utilization. Okay, so whenever you see that more than 80%, we need to troubleshoot, or it reaches to 75% also, you need to troubleshoot. Up, along with this log file, even when you go to the Azure SQL database, when you run DBCC SQL puff log space, you see your log file utilization of all your databases, log file utilization of your databases. Whenever you change the database to DB1, if you run DBCC SQL puff log space, you will get the information in a while. Okay, so meanwhile it is fetching. Okay, so using DBCC SQL puff log space, you can also clear the waits. You can also clear the waste. We already cover what are the top DMVs and DMFs are available in our previous session. I will place that link in the video description. You can go and watch. Okay, so DM underscore OS underscore waiting underscore task will display the waits information. So please try to avoid to run the clearing the waits information so that you can't whenever you are troubleshooting. So stats will provide some benchmark values that will help us a lot when you are troubleshooting. So try to avoid to clear the waits using SQL puff log SQL puff. So try to avoid to clear. So we should not run this command in any environment. That is not a best practice. And only we will use mostly we'll use SQL Server log space. So that will provide you log information. That will provide you log information. See, whenever you change the DB1, when you run the command, it will display the DB1 database log file as well in Azure SQL database. So up along with that, okay. So for example, if you wanted to run run DB's SQL puff log space, what permission we want means, so you need view server state permission or alter server state permission. Basically, when you go to the security, so when you go to the security of any user, any login, okay, who wants this permission, go to the securities where you can see view server state. If you're having view server state permission, you can run DBCC commands, console commands. DBCC console command. So this is the one of the topmost DBCC commands we will use to identify our current log file utilization. So next we will use DBCC user options. It will just provide the information about your database. Apart from nothing else it will provide. Just it will provide your DB related information. Means what is your DB, what kind of fancy values enable, what is the collation, fancy value enable or not. And one of the most thing is what is your isolation level. That session also we already covered. That video description I will provide in the description. You can go and watch it. Okay, so isolation level is also very important concept, but DBCC user option will provide the basic DB level information. Just it will pass the information about your database. And if you wanted to enable traces, so for example, if you wanted to enable traces, DBCC trace on, trace off, trace status, these are very important. Even you can run this command uh, in cloud as well. Let's see. So you can get the same sort of information. So if you wanted to enable the traces, so traces are very important. So, if you wanted to monitor the deadlocks, if you wanted to enable some traces related to tempdb 1118 deadlock 1122127, okay, you can use DBCC trace on, trace off, trace status. So, if you wanted to enable the traces, so trace on, if you wanted to stop the trace, trace off, and if you wanted to see the status, you can see the status with the help of trace status. Stay status. Here, one thing is very important. We mustn't should remember this point, that is, just if you are specifying this one and enabling the running the DBCC trace on, it will enable locally. Local trace means once you close the session, automatically your trace will be disabled. Your trace will be disabled. If you want to, even if you close the session, if you, even you wanted to open the trace, means you need to enable with -1, and this is one of the most important question you should Re- remember while you are attending interview. What is the difference between -1 and 0? By default, it is a 0. So -1 means global trace. Even you close the session, your trace is turn it on. So if you wanted to turn it off, again you need to use trace turn off. So for example, if you are enabling and if you see the trace status, you will see a global trace. It is a global trace. It is a global trace where you can get the, even you close the session also, the trace is back and running, which will collect the deadlock information. If you wanted to turn it off, just mention DBCC trace off, DBCC trace off, and automatically it will off, of the trace, and you can see the trace. Currently no traces are running. So if you wanted to enable any trace globally, locally, you can enable the traces. Along with, if you want to enable, even when you restart, even when you restart your server SQL services, even my traces need to be enabled, means you need to enable the traces from SQL server startup parameters. If you enable this trace here -t 1222, even you disable, even you restart the SQL also, this trace is enabled. This trace is enabled. So once you restart SQL, automatically this trace will be disabled when you enable using DBCC trace on. So even you restart also, your trace need to be on, means you need to enable from the startup parameters. We need to enable from the startup parameters. Please make a note down, very important. Okay, that's it about traces, trace on, trace status, trace off. So we are having a number of traces. I'm going to make one more session over the traces, where which traces are most important, that will help you on your day to day. And one more top DBCC commands is DBCC Opentran. DBCC Opentran. Again, I will come up this scenario when we are discussing log file troubleshooting with the live demos. What is DBCC Opentran? So Opentran is nothing but which will provide you the active transaction info. DBCC active transaction information means, in case whenever your database is currently running with active transactions, and you wanted to see that active transaction information, you can run DBCC Opentran. Sometimes your log file will get full due to active transactions. So if you wanted to see that active transaction, what is current active transaction which is running, then you need to open DBCC Opentran and make a note. DBCC Opentran is a database level. DBCC SQL Puff is a instance level. Instance level means you are getting entire instance level information. DBCC Opentran is a DB level, on which database you want to see active transactions, then you need to run DBCC Opentran. DBCC Opentran. Please make a note down. So when you run DBCC Opentran, you will see, basically you will see this kind of output. In case if really there is an active transaction, when you run this command, currently there is no active transaction, but in case there is active transaction, you will get this kind of output. In this output, you need to see what is the SPID and what is the last LSN number and what is the start point. This is two are very important. One is when this active transaction has been started, which is making our log file consuming lot, or log file is getting full due to this transaction. So we need to copy that SPID. Okay, we need to copy that SPID and we need to pass it in the DBCC input buffer. This is one more DBCC command where we will use more frequently. Input buffer, where you will pass the SPID. So for example, if I'm passing 83, I used to get what event that user is performing. If that user is performing select or insert or update, or is running stored procedure, you will see that output. But DBCC input buffer will display only up to 255 characters. If your query is more than 255 characters, it will display up to 255 characters. So if you wanted to see complete transaction, so previous DMV session I explained DM underscore exec underscore SQL underscore text. We need to use that DMF to see the complete SQL text. Complete SQL text. DM underscore exec underscore SQL underscore text. So it is the alternative to see complete SQL statement. DBCC input buffer will display only up to 255 characters. Make a note down. Again, in depth, I will go when we are troubleshooting respective issues. Opentran, I will show you practically. Everything I will show you practically with the live demos. This today we are just briefing what are the top DMVs, so DBCC commands are available in Entity SQL Server and where we will use on our day-to-day work. Day-to-day work. Okay, so DBCC input buffer will display what event that user is performing, like insert or update or delete. Based on that, we need to act accordingly. So DBCC Opentran will display the active transaction information. Even you can run in the Azure SQL database. So where it will display active transaction information. Currently, there is no active transaction. And if you wanted to open the session, you can open DBCC input buffer to see the what event that user is performing. What event that user is performing. DBCC input buffer. Okay, so I hope this is about DBCC Opentran, where you will get the long running transaction and the database level. DBCC input buffer will display the event, what event that user is performing, and this is also most important DBCC command which we will use more frequently when you are specially troubleshooting log file. So DBCC Opentran, DBCC log info, not log info. It is not specifying any login. It is log info. Log information it is providing means how many VLFs has been created in this database. So if you wanted to get the VLF count, so if you wanted to see the VLF count, you can get by running DBCC log info. When you run DBCC log info, how many VLFs has been created in our database. So whenever your query performance is sometimes application users will complain that my performance is impacting. Maybe due to too many VLFs, your performance may impact. So how to troubleshoot, how to see, everything we'll discuss in depth in the live sessions. So log info will display how many VLFs are available in current. This is again present information. All these commands are showing present information. Log info will provide you the current state of your log VLFs. And here very important column is status. 2 means active VLF, 0 means inactive VLF. 2 means active VLF, 0 means inactive ELF. This is also one important point. Everyone need to make a note down. Now we will take a separate session for DBCC checkdb when we are discussing corruption session. As of now, ignore about DBCC checkdb, and two more things are very important. So DBCC string file, DBCC string database. These two commands are also little bit important, where we will mostly will try to string our log files, will string our database, will string our log file, will string our database. So for example, if you wanted to string, what is string first? String means releasing the space to the disk. So for example, to understood, so if user is performing one insert operation, okay, usually my log file is currently 1 GB, okay, sitting 1 GB under 1 GB. Due to this insert, my log file grown to 100 GB, 100 GB. So after that instance, still your log file will be stay back at 100 GB. It won't release the space to the disk. But after that instant, I am not performing anything. Nothing is I'm performing. Okay, so I wanted to release that space to the disk so that other files can use, other databases can use. So in that scenario, you will try to shrink. So always follow the best practice. We can we can string the log files. We can string the log files. Try to avoid to string the data files until unless all the doors has been closed. So that is the final option where we will try to string the data files. Basically, we should not encourage to string the data files. If you string the data files, you need to follow other best practices. Otherwise, your query may impact and it may lead some performance if you are stringing the data files. But you can string log files anytime. You can string log file anytime. You can string the log file anytime. So try to string. Whenever you are stringing also, we need to take care more about how you are trying to string the files, how you are trying to string the files. So especially if you go for data files, especially if you go for data files, so try to perform incremental strings, means release the subspace. Again, you need to release some space. Don't release at a time too much space released to the disk. Okay, that will also not a best practice. So try to string, perform incremental when you specially stringing the data files, when you are specially stringing the data file. So when you wanted to release the space to the disk, whenever whenever you are getting disk full alerts, you wanted to try to shrink. So try to shrink log file. As a best practice, yes, you can shrink tempdb also, you can shrink entire database level, but don't shrink user databases until unless you need take approval. Don't try to shrink the entire database. So for example, if you wanted to shrink, you can use the DBCC commands, or else right click on database, go to the task, click on shrink, go to the file. So I don't want shrink entire database, I want to shrink only file. Okay, choose the log file or data file, anything is fine, sir. Both are same only. And what is the file group you wanted to string, and this is your location, how much you can release. Okay, currently 8 GB is allocated, 8 MB is allocated, sorry. Out of 8 MB, I can release almost 7 MB, means only 1 MB is allocated. 1 MB is with data, I can release 7 MB. So try to shrink with the release unused space. You can also choose, but try to avoid that one. Try to prefer reorganize the pages before releasing the unused space. So it will arrange the day, it will arrange the pages before it will release the space to the disk. That is a best option. And here one point everyone make a note down, what is minimum. So for example, if you see here, if you see here 250, okay, so whatever the value you are passing, that should be greater than 250, should not be less than, means this file minimum you it required 250, minimum 250, means whenever you want to shrink, you need to shrink greater than up to 250. You can't shrink below 250. So try to understood, you can't shrink below 250, you can shrink up to 250. So your value whatever you are passing here, it should be greater than 250, it should be greater than 250 means, for example, you can make again, don't string accurate value, don't string accurate value, at least try to keep some space like 50 GB, okay, or 5 GB, 10 GB, 20 GB, as much your disk capacity, right? At least keep some free space in the log files or data files. Don't string equally, okay? That is also not best practice. So once you choose all the information, once you choose everything here, okay, then you can click on script. You can click on script. It will display your DBCC string file and your database log file name and how much you are trying to shrink, how much you are trying to shrink, how much you are trying to shrink. So So if you wanted to shrink the entire database, you can same approach. You can go to the entire database shrink and you can click on entire database and currently how much is allocated, how much is available, reorganizes before it release and just click on script. It will try to generate the script. It will generate the script. Try to avoid to shrink the database. Try to avoid the shrink the database. Try to shrink the log files. Try to shrink the log files. Okay, so for example, if you wanted to string the Azure SQL database, for example, if you wanted to string the Azure SQL databases, now, so same for example, this is my database. So when you right click on database, let's say if you see any property called string, right click on database or go to try to connect this database from SQL Server Management Studio. You will get the more familiar options. So once it connected via SSMS, expand the database, right click on database, right click on database, go to the task. So you are not able to string. You are not able to see any task related to the string. You are not able to see any task related to the sync. Now, how if you wanted to try to string the Azure SQL databases, how you will string? How you will string? That is one thing, okay, where we wanted to know about. So for example, we will try to run the same command. We will try to run the same command over Azure SQL database. Let's go and see if we are opening new query window, or let's go here and let's try to perform string operation. Let's see what will happen, what it will do. It is able to string or it will throw any error which is related to DBT string database. It is able to shrink. And now you wanted to see the file sizes. Basically, you need to know what is my logical file name, what is my physical file name. So in on premises, we will run sp underscore who2. So for example, this is my on premises. If I run sp underscore help db, okay. So whenever you run sp underscore help db, sorry, help db, where you can see complete. Oh, sorry, help db. You will see complete your databases uses. And if you pass the parameter db1, where you can get the database related name, what is the status, what is logical name, how much size is available, okay, you will see. Okay, same thing, can I go and run in Azure SQL database? Azure SQL database, if you run this command, let's see what sp underscore help db is not. compatible. It is asking, can you go for master dbo.sys databases? Let's see, it is suggesting one name, master.dbo.sys databases. So let's copy this one, or let's do one thing. Anyhow, we are already having the scripts. So let's copy the scripts and let's use the file usage. So I wanted to see the file usage. Copy the script, go to here and remove everything and you can run this one. Let's see whether you are able to see the your database logical name, how much free space is available, how much is allocated. Let's see whether you are able to pull the data or not. Same command try to run in the SSMS as well. Go to the respective database. Let's see which one you can it can pull very quickly. So you are able to see the logical name, you are able to see the file name, you are able to see the file group, you are able to see location. Location means not like a C drive, D drive. It is completely on the PaaS platform. You will see file space, usage, free space, and the free space percentage, and you can try to string. You can try to string the Azure SQL databases as well, but you need to get what is your logical name and how much free space that you can try to string. You can run this command which is available in our GitHub repository to see how much free space is available. You can try to string. So avoid to string the data files. Avoid to string the data files. Try to string the log files. But tempdb you can string. Tempdb you can string at any time you can string the entire database. So we are not discussing more about DBCC pre-flow cache, DBCC drop cleanup buffer because these are very sensitive kind of information. We'll take a separate session to discuss about DBCC pre-flow cache, system cache, free system cache, cleanup buffer. All these are very sensitive. You need to take approval before you try to before you try to clean up the caches. So and one more command, mostly usable command we will use, that is nothing but DBCC memory status. Memory status, very important DBCC command where you need to remember. It will display complete about your memory, current state of memory. So this is very important where you need to copy this one, enter into the notepad whenever you are troubleshooting memory. It will display complete information about your memory where you need to it will help us a lot when you are troubleshooting memory, like available physical memory, available virtual memory, how much base file is available, what is working set, what is working trim, what is committed, target committed, current committed. All we are going to discuss in the memory troubleshooting along with the live demos. Okay, same command will try to run in the Azure cloud. Let's see what information you can see. So whenever you are practicing, try to compare with the cloud as well. Same you can get from the cloud as well. So this DBCS command is very popular. You need to use only whenever there is a memory pressure. Don't run simply when there is no memory pressure. So when really memory pressure, try to run DBCC memory status where you will get lot of must benchmark values that will help you lot. Along with one more important where we will use more frequently is DBCC source statistics. DBCC store statistics. So for example, if you are working on the troubleshooting, especially on the performance troubleshooting, and you wanted to see the status of your uh, update statistics. For example, if you wanted to see the status of your update statistics. One second. So, for example, if you wanted to see the status, okay, so where you can run DBCC show statistics and it will display the complete stats of your database. Let's see what tables are available in my database. So, okay, DBCC DBO employee. Okay, let's make DBO dot emp. And what is the stats? Any stats is available? Yes, this is the auto created stats, because when you see the w, it will be auto create stats, and when you run this one, it will complete display about your stats, where you will see three parameters. One is the header session, one is the density session, one is the histogram. Where we are going to take a separate session for update statistics, we'll discuss a lot on the statistics. So these are the top DBCC commands which will help you a lot whenever you are working in real world. Same thing you can use in the Azure cloud as well, where you will see, oh, there is no stats. What is any stats are available related to my table? Let's see. Oh, currently there is a stat, but it's not this one. It's a different. We'll try to drag and drop. Oh, let's run in the SSMS. Okay. This is Azure SQL database. Is fine. Okay. Remove this one and try to pull the current stat of on the Azure SQL database. Okay, let's see the stats and let's copy the stats. Okay, so whatever you are trying to implement in on-premises, same thing you can try to implement in the cloud, so that you can compare how in the cloud is also working about all that DBCC command. So same information. I hope this video helped everyone. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe my channel and click the bell icon for further updates. Thank you.